Hi, I'm Hilton, and today I'm going to show you guys how to install an aftermarket camera to the Audi A6. Now, if you've just fitted an Android head unit, you're most likely going to want to install a backup camera as well. Now, what I found out afterwards is that you need one of these little things before you connect it up to your backup lights. And this is called a car camera filter. It's a tiny little box, and I'll put a picture up here to show you guys what it looks like and what it says. And you need this to regulate the voltage on the camera when the car is running. So if you fit a backup camera to this car and you put it in reverse without the engine running and you just check to see if it's all working, and it's working fine, and then you find out later on when the car is running it isn't working fine and the picture's all scrambled, then you need one of these. The problem with these Audis is that they use pulse wave modulation in order to provide current when the car is running to the taillights. And because of that pulse of power, the camera is not getting a constant 12 volts, and it needs a constant 12 volts. And this little thing converts that pulse to a constant 12 volt feed to your camera. So you connect the in to your taillight and the out to your camera, because on this thing it actually says in and out with an arrow showing you the direction of the flow of the current. So you've got to make sure you hook this up correctly. So without any further ado, I'm going to show you guys how I install this camera. Right, so in order to run the camera, what I've done is I've connected it to camera detection, which is there's a red wire on your camera cable, the video cable that comes out of the video cable. So you just plug your yellow video cable with the red wire on the one side to the head unit's rear camera in, and the pink wire on this particular unit is the camera detection, and it's got a label on it that says camera detection. So you connect the red wire from your camera cable to that wire that says camera detection and your two video cables to one another, and then you can run your video cable to the back of the car. The other side of the video cable has a video connector, RCA connector. It has a red wire coming out of it. It's got a power adapter, a power connector, which will connect into the red wire, and you'll see when we get to the rear of the car where this one plugs into, you're going to have a positive and a negative on the other end of that cable, because this is your power wire. So you need to provide power to the camera, and you're going to get that power from your reverse light as well. Now, because the RCA cable that's plugging into the camera also needs power, just connect the two red ones together for your positive, which I've done here, but I need to do a proper connection. And these are your positive, and then the black one will be your ground. I now have the cable behind the carpet over here, and I just want to get that one in there. I've got it behind the carpet here, and my aim is to run it all the way down here and underneath this trim panel over here. This is all one item. So it's not like a Jag where you can just, pull this section loose. I suspect it does have clips, but I don't really want to loosen them because this car has proved to have really, really shoddy clips, and I don't want to break any of them. So I'm just going to try my best to run this cable to the back, and I'm hoping that this cable is long enough to reach the trunk, because it's a pretty big car. It's pretty long. And this cable doesn't look all that long, to be honest. So what I'm doing here is I'm just using a trim tool to lift this panel a little bit. I've used this one actually, just to lift this like that, and then to stick the cable underneath. Here's my cable here, and when you get to the seats, it is a little bit more tricky to get in there, and just make sure that is in, and that is why I'm using this hook one to try and get in here, just to lift the trim enough for me to get my fingers in there. So when you get to this section here, just get your trim tool underneath this and have your cable. Just pull your cable a little bit taut and then slide your trim tool along, and the cable will just pop in there and underneath as you go. And just keep going until you get to this section here, and keep going. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the seat bench out so that I can route the cable to the opposite side of the car, because the grommet, there's only one grommet in this tailgate that comes out of the tailgate to the body of the car, and that is on the right hand side of the car. And then we need to push back to unhook it. There we go. Now I can get the seat out. Right, so just an update. I managed to run the cable on the driver's side because I do not have enough cable to even get to the taillights. I've done exactly what I showed you on the other side. I've routed it through here. I just need to tuck it in down there. And I used this cable tie and I just tied it onto the plug over there. And I very, very gingerly pulled it through inside up there. I got it behind that panel and I've run it up inside here, and you can see just a small bit of it under the accelerator cable mechanism over here. So it's sitting over there right now, and it doesn't really, this thing just sits here, it doesn't move. That section moves on the accelerator pedal, and then I got it behind this panel over here, running it down there, then underneath here. I need to just try and get it behind this bolster, and there is a place here where you can get through inside, but in order to do this I'm going to have to take the carpet inside the trunk off. There is a clip over there, and this carpet goes behind this thing that sits behind the rear seat back, so I don't really want to take that off. I just need to get in the corner over there because I think that's where all the wires are coming through. So I've already taken this cover off. That's not rocket science, just pull it by its handle and take it off. For this purpose we actually need this one, so I'm just gonna pull it out, and there we go. I see it's just got a straight thing, it doesn't have any ridges on it, so we can pop that out, and that's what the other part looks like. And then I can try and get access to, I already see my cable tie behind here. Now I can't show you that, but it's here. There's my cable tie with my wire. So I'm just going to pull this right through and then get it towards the taillight. Now what I need to do is just get my video cable on this side of the carpet, and I'm just going to get my hand on the other side and put it through, and then we can stick the plug back. We don't need that anymore. There we go, and now we can just put this plug back where it belongs and stick this thing back in there. So this is the grommet I was telling you guys about. There's only one cable that goes into the trunk, and that is here, goes in there, and it's attached to this rubber thing like manufacturers do. but that is it over there, and it goes in right there. And on this side they have a dummy grommet, which would have been nice if they only had a dummy grommet over here, but there's nothing on this side where I can actually route the cable through. I'm going to have to punch a hole through this grommet and then punch a hole through this grommet so that my cable comes up here next to this one and goes in here somewhere. Just got to try and see. I think it's got the same mechanism. No, it doesn't. So I can maybe punch a hole in there and try and get my video cable in there. But having checked now, my video cable is long enough and it will reach, it's just got to reach up to around there. I still got to take this cover off as well so I can see what's going on there. And this is the camera I'm actually fitting. So I'm replacing all of this because my grab handle rubber has broken on my car. If you have a look there. And mine's looking kind of grubby. So I'm just going to transfer the license plate lights onto this one and then hook this one up to my car. The cable for the camera is this long, and this is the power plug that plugs into this red connector over here. These two wires, one is ground, one is positive. Okay, red is positive, black is ground. They're very tiny wires, but this red wire from your video cable must be spliced together with the red cable on your power cable. Okay, otherwise the camera just won't turn on, because the camera needs power as well to supply video feed. So you're going to supply video or power to the video using this red cable, and it's just going to attach to the red cable of your power cable, and then the black one will attach to a ground on your taillights. Now just to show you, I've got another cable tie. I've got it in the back of the grommet and I've got it out the other side of the grommet, and I've made a very small hole. The video plug is going to have to just widen that hole, but I'm going to be pulling it through now, and then I have to angle the video cable in such a way that I can get it through the same hole, which is not going to be easy, but I'm going to do that now. Right, so I've got the cable through there. I'm going to just run it through this grommet now, and just a little tip, it helps to put some Vaseline or something, some kind of lubricant, but I find Vaseline works best on this plug, so that when you're pulling it through this rubber grommet, it just glides through a hell of a lot more easily, and then you don't have any problems with that. So I've got my video cable through this grommet now as well, and I have used a little bit of Vaseline to get it through there. What I found is that this little pointer or nib on the video cable can easily bend, and mine did bend, but luckily I checked, it's still working, so I'm going to carry on. Now we have to get two cables, don't forget, through here. So this is the power cable that's going to come from the camera, and this cable also has to go through there, and then it's also going to go through the same hole. So you can have two cables coming through this grommet, and your bare wires will stay on the taillight side because that's where we're going to hook them up. And the fact that this cable is running all the way into the trunk and I cannot hook it up with this one means that I'm going to have to connect another wire to this and then also run that through here so that I can power the camera. So all I'm going to do now is I've got my feeder wire attached to a cut cable tie because you don't want this end going through the grommet, and just so I can feed it through. And I'm not really concerned about the color of it because I'm going to tape it all up, and there we go, we've got it through this side, and I've got my camera's power cable through already as well. So just keeping in mind we need to keep all the wires on this side underneath and pull that through, and then I just need to get it through this grommet over here. And like I said, it helps if you just line the hole with some Vaseline, then everything just glides right through. And then all these wires I'm going to tape up so that they're all nice and neat, but that I'm only going to do right at the end. So I'm just going to leave all that for now until I get everything hooked up. And now we need to take off the trunk lid. So the triangle must come off, and I'll just put that in there, and just trying to see how this is affixed. It looks like it has clips that you have to undo. Push these down and then get this off. And with that out of the way, there are 2 screws underneath the grab handles that need to be undone. That one's out. Don't put too much pressure on them. Don't pull. Lean against the trunk, and then it's easier to get them off. And get the bottom off. In fact, just a tip, this thing must come off, just the cover. Okay, and I'm just trying to see how many more clips there are. Okay, this is loose over here. Here are your grab handles. So you've got a clip there, you've got a clip there facing this way, this one faces this way, so just take note of that. And there are your clips. So there are 2 at the top, 1 in the middle, and another 2 at the top. Now I'm going to be working upside down in here because I've got to undo these 2 big bolts. And there should be 2. Nope, just 1. On this thing, I suppose, to get this cover off, just unplug all the plugs. And then these are the bolts here that hold this thing in. So I've undone the 1 bolt, and it's quite a funny looking thing. It looks like this, like a bell. So don't lose these. Just don't lose them. There's 1 lead inside here, and there, just keep note of the amount of torque that these things are connected with, because they're not connected on there with a whole lot of torque. So this one, the bell is attached, so kind of odd that the other one wasn't. So all I'm doing is I'm just keeping track of how they were fixed, and I'm laying them down in the trunk in the same way. Now I'm just doing the big bolt that's holding this thing in. And it's quite a long bolt that holds this thing in place. So I'm just undoing, using a little Torx head with my hand to undo this little thing here, and we don't want to, it's a plastic screw, so not going to take a lot to get it out. or in again, I guess. But yeah, it's something like that. And I think this thing just pulls out. But it can't unless I take the plug off first. And it's one of those horrible plugs which make you hurt yourself. Just get this cover out, and there's one more bolt hiding just in here that we need to loosen right by the lock. So I'm just gonna loosen this one as well, and then take this cover off, and of course that bell came off. Looks like the ones on the inner side are loose and the ones on the outer side are not. And I think what I'm going to have to do is loosen this cable over here. I finally got the lock out. It's going to be in there like that, right? And what you've got to do is twist it 45 degrees this way, and then you just got to pull really hard to get it out because it has a rubber seal around it. So you just pull hard and it'll come out. Now that I've got this off the car, I need to just transfer my license plate lights to the new one, and then I need to transfer the actuator to the new one as well. We have a beautiful day here, the sun is shining, and everything's rather hot right now. So I'm just going to take the license plate lights off quickly, and then I'll put those there, and just see if that screw has nothing to do with that from what I can see. So this must come off. I thought there was a plug that went into this thing, but it would appear there isn't. This plug is actually for your license plate lights. So again, brilliant design by Audi. So we need to transfer this onto here. Okay. There's the little contact for the actuators. So the actuator is actually getting power somehow from this plug as well. Okay. I'll do this side first. Get the clips in. And then I'm going to have to undo, before I do that, just get this back out. I'm going to have to undo that screw because I'm going to use Audi screws to get that in. Now this screw is under a lot of tension, so I just hope I'm not undoing something that shouldn't be undone. That's aligned, but anyway, just transfer all of this back in place, and this must go in here. Get that one in. That must go in there. So this is pretty much how it's supposed to be. I'm just going to put the screw back that AliExpress had in there. And that will hold that down. Now I just need to get the license plate lights transferred. clip on this side, on the inner side, that needs to be undone. And then you should be able to push it out. Yeah, so there's the clip over there. So just remember the clip faces the inside, there's a screw on the other side, so you really can't go wrong. Now when you screw them into this thing for the first time, you're probably going to pick up some kind of resistance. Where is the other light? And get that in there. Just push the clip in first, and then the section with the... It's really an odd design, because I honestly and truly cannot see you getting this off. It's difficult to get a screwdriver in there once this is on, but anyway, let's get these back in here. Right, so I think we have everything correct, and what I'm going to do is now transfer this back to the car, and then I can put the lock back in place. So I've got the trunk open again, and I'm just riding this through and try and get this back in its place. There we go. The lock has that rubber grommet on it, so it's going to be difficult to get it on there, but I think I've got it in, and I'm going to twist it 45 degrees now. And this is the little cable for the lock that goes in there. Get that big bolt that went in here for the lock. Just get that bolt back in place. So this bolt screws in pretty nicely. I don't want to over tighten it because I'm not quite sure of this AliExpress plastic. Just want to make sure that the cables for my camera are routed through this way and behind this thing, so that they're not in the way when I've got everything back together. So we just have to get this cover back on here, and it goes this way around. Like that, and then we can just tighten by hand the one, and then we just have to tighten the other one, which was this bell looking thing, and we just get that on there. So we just got to get this grommet back onto the lock mechanism. There we go, that's in place. Pull your cable out and slot the cable into that little hole where you took it out. So you just need to bend it down like that, and we've got to get our plastic thing back into place, and this, if I recall, went in here, but I think this cable first and foremost plugs in over here onto the metal of the car. There we go. And then get this slotted up in there. And then we just need to get this plastic screw back in there. Turn it in by hand. It's not that difficult to get it in or out, for that matter. And then just tighten it up. It actually took one of these little Allen key things to get it tight, but there we go. And then just need to plug this back in here. So I've just stuck this plug back in its place for the electronic lock, and then for the license plate lights, and then slot that back on there so that we don't have any rattles or squeaks or anything like that, and make sure that's good and tight. Now I can run my camera wires through. There's the OEM wire over there, so I'm going to try and run them concurrently, and I'm going to overlap these two over that wire so they can't fall out. I'm going to tape them all together to this cable tie, and that's going to make it easier to get them through and up. Now the one cable is short, and that is this camera cable here. So I'm going to undo my tape. In fact, I'm just going to plug in the camera cable. This is the power cable for the camera that I'm plugging into, the red one over there. This is my video cable. Right, so I don't need this anymore. Now I'm going to hook this red wire that I ran through my grommet, which is going to run to my tail light, and it's going to hook up with my power cable on the other side, and I'm just going to hook that up to my video cable wire. So I've joined my power cable to my video cable, and all I'm going to do now is I'm just going to run some automotive tape around the cable so they can't pull loose at any point in time, just to make sure they stay together as they should be, and they can never ever pull loose. And now I've got to do the same for my power cable. This one has these nice little tabs on the inside that you can use to just pull it into place. So just see which one I need to pull here. The bottom one. Yeah. So we got a good seal over there. Now I've got some plastic weld I can actually put around this, and plastic weld it's kind of like a silicone, but it goes hard like plastic. And then I'm going to just cable tie these wires. I just want to connect these first, and then I'm going to cable tie these wires to this thing over here, and then also just cover them in a bit of tape. So as you can see, I've got my live connected to the green and black wire on the taillight wires, and I have the black wire connected to the brown wire on the taillight wires, and the brown wire is your ground, and the green and black wire is your live coming from your reverse light. And then I've got it going in over there, and the out is connected to my camera wires lights. I just want to give you guys another update. I've been testing the camera, and I had the ground and the live connected to my taillight wires, and I had both the ground and the live connected to the out of this little box, but my screen was still flickering. And what I did is I just disconnected the ground leading to the camera power supply, and that took the flickering away. So if you're still getting flickering after having installed one of these, just disconnect your ground for the camera. Don't disconnect the ground for your taillight, but disconnect the ground for the camera coming from this thing. And if you're not fitting one of these, then just disconnect the ground from your taillights and just run a live to the camera, and that might resolve your flickering for once and for all. So I'm not going to connect this wire, I'm only going to connect the live to the camera. And there's our screen, and I'm just going to get it in reverse. And there is our reverse picture. And you can see my tripod there in the back. Now if I turn the steering wheel, the trajectory lines turn with the camera, which is nice to have. And you can actually go into the camera settings, and if you press this button here, you can move their lines a little bit more to the middle, so that it lines up with your head unit's lines. So when you're backing up and you've got your trajectory moving, it's nice to know that you can set your trajectory with the camera lines as well. So I've got it set to the max on the left, because the camera is actually sitting on the left of the car. You can also adjust the brightness of the camera. You can make it really, really, really bright, which I don't really want to do, so I'm not quite sure. If you tap on the left of that button, then it brings it down. So I've got it nice and bright. There is a very, very slight flicker, but it's not as bad. It was completely scrambled and I couldn't see a thing. And if you press that button, it just takes you back to the way everything was. So I'm just going to increase the brightness a little bit again, so that my camera is nice and bright. And if I put it back into park or drive, then we are back to our OEM system. So I finally have the camera installed now, and I actually started filming this about 2 weeks ago, and you'll see I'm wearing different clothes even, and it just wouldn't work. And then I had to do a little bit of research, and I spoke to the seller who sold me the head unit, and I must be honest, the seller has actually been amazing with their support. At first, when I first got the head unit and I was missing cables and things, I thought, wow, these guys really took me for a ride, because the head unit was around $475, almost $500 including shipping, and then I still had to pay import duties. So I paid all in all, I think $600 for this sound system, or this head unit. And when I told them that I was missing a cable, they said fine, they shipped me the cable. They do take long to answer your messages, so you've got to be patient, give them a couple of days and then they answer you, but they do answer you and they do come back to you. And then with the camera setup as well, they helped me with that as well. They told me I actually need this little box, and I managed to get one locally. I will be putting a link to this little camera filter thing down in the description box, and then I'll also put a link to the camera itself. The camera is actually very nice because it looks OEM. So in the next video, I'm going to show you guys a little bit more about this head unit. I must be honest, I've been very happy with the Android system so far. I've only had it for a couple of weeks now in the car, and it's been nice to be able to hear my own music. It's nice to be able to use Android Auto. It has wireless Android Auto, it has wireless CarPlay, and it really is amazing. And I actually have Google Maps on my car, and I can listen to my music from my phone wirelessly. There is just one thing that I need to do, and that is to hook up the USBs, and I'm going to do a separate video on that because I'm going to be installing the USBs in the center console, which is going to look like a really neat arrangement. And I have an extension cable that I bought for that. And there are two USBs. One is a high-speed charging one, and then the other one is just for if you want to play music from the USB or charge something really slow, which I doubt anyone would want to do. But the high-speed one also allows you to have wired Android Auto and CarPlay if your phone's wireless or Wi-Fi is not working. So I like that because when you are connected wirelessly using your phone's Wi-Fi to the head unit's Wi-Fi, and the problem with that is that you cannot use the internet then on the head unit. But if you plug it in and you're not using wireless Android, you can then use your phone's data to watch YouTube videos or surf the net. I'll be doing an in-depth video on that, probably in my next video. I do need to give you guys an update on what's happening with the white Audi, and there I'm pleased to say that my transmission issues have been resolved, but it's a little bit of a story to have gotten there, so I thought maybe I'll just do an update video on that and share that with you guys so you guys can see or hear what actually happened with that. And I'm just happy that the car is working fine now. So the only thing wrong with this car right now is the door actuator on the driver's door is not working. When you unlock it, you cannot open the door, you have to use the key. And I saw on the warranty history that the passenger side was done, I think, in 2012, and the driver's door has never been done. So I have the actuator, and I'm going to let the dealer install that because I had the door card off and everything, and I thought, well, I could do a video on this, but it turns out you have to take the whole door frame off the car. You just cannot get to that thing. There's a big plastic thing that's protecting the actuator inside there. It's riveted in there, plastic riveted in, and if you break it off, you're just never going to have it back on the car again. So stay tuned for the next video. I think you guys are really going to enjoy seeing a little bit more about what this head unit can do. And it's not just for Audis. These head units are they sell them for Mercedes-Benz, for BMW, and yes, even Jags. So for those of you who are still Jag fans and still watch my videos, they do have one of these for Jaguar XF, and not just the facelift. They work on the old one as well. So if I ever do buy another XF, which I might do, if this thing starts giving me trouble, I might get another XF, and it will most likely be the prior to the facelift one. I just think the build quality on those is much better. So if I do buy one of those, I'll definitely be fitting an Android head unit to that. So stay tuned for the next video, and thank you for watching. Cheers.